Hello and welcome to Programming for Everybody. My name is Charles Severance. I'm a clinical associate professor at the University of Michigan School of Information, and I'm your instructor for this class. I'm glad you're here. So the first thing I always like to talk about when I teach a class is who should take the class. This class is a beginning class. This class is a beginning class for beginners. This class is a beginning class for people who don't know anything about programming. And so I am committed to teaching you the basics and not assuming that you know anything. There's no math in this. There's a light amount of work every week. I'm focused more on learning than I am about sort of getting you to be a professional programmer. So I also like to talk a little bit about who I am. If you like, there is a URL here for the TED Talk that I gave, a TEDx talk that I gave about MOOCs, and you can kind of see the philosophy of how I do MOOCs. I think I might have been wearing this exact same jacket and this exact same shirt for the MOOC, so I won't go into that. You'll see that I'm very passionate about a few things. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is open, and I wrote a book about an open source project called Sakai, which is a open source learning management system that's used by many people around the world. I am committed enough that I even have a tattoo. My research area is teaching and learning tools and expanding sort of the ways we can use technology to teach in better and better ways. And my work with Sakai, as well as my work with IMS Learning Tools Interoperability, is part of that. This tattoo that you see has Sakai at the middle, and it has in a circle all of my collaborators that have implemented IMS Learning Tools Interoperability. Well, there's hundreds of others. There's only a few that got tattoos. And Coursera, and we're going to be using it in this class, also implements this IMS Learning Tools Interoperability. And so you will see how I can connect tools that I build, plug them deeply into Coursera, and really improve, I think, the pedagogy of my course. If you want to get a sense of my sense of humor, just Google iPad steering wheel mount. Some people think this is serious. I call it satire, but I think good satire is the satire that you can't always tell if it's satire or not. So I want to talk a little bit about my personal very first programming experience, because it really has colored my approach to teaching from that very first moment. So I came out of high school in 1975, and we didn't have computers. The family didn't have a computer. I did have a hand calculator in my senior year in high school, and I thought that was pretty amazing. And so I went to college, and the fall of 1975, and an advisor said, you should take one of these programming things. We're putting everybody into the programming class. And so I said, oh, whatever, I don't know, sure. So I was a very good student in high school, but in college I was amazed that they would let me skip class and they never took attendance, and I thought I should experiment with how well this works. And this programming class was at 10:30 in the morning, and so I was usually very tired and I didn't really want to get up in time to go to a 10:30 class, so I started skipping the classes. And one time I had that thing that we're all afraid of when we're attending a class, and that is I showed up at a midterm and I didn't know it was the day of the midterm, and they handed me a piece of paper and I had no idea what any of the words meant because I'd skipped so many classes. But somehow after that I somehow recovered, and a few short weeks later I actually figured out what those words meant, and then I realized, as any 17-year-old might, that this programming thing is kind of fun, because if I communicate properly with this device, it will do whatever I say. And I did a lot of cool stuff, and I caught up in the class, and I became one of the best students in the class, all in one semester. And at the end I pulled my grade up from a fail to a D. But at the same time I was hooked, and I immediately changed my major to computer science, and then I went on to finish my bachelor's, master's, and PhD, all inside computer science. And so I understand that when you first meet programming, you're likely to be confused. I know I was confused, and I turned out to be pretty good at it. But my first reaction was how confused I was. So accept the fact that you're going to be confused. Relax. Enjoy it. You're going to learn a lot. And you might actually really like this, even though you think you're not going to. So let's talk a little bit about the course. The course is really based on a textbook that I've written called Python for Informatics. And this book is 100% free. Every copy is all the electronic formats, PDF, MOBI, EPUB, HTML, all free. And you can buy a printed copy of the book if you like, but you don't have to, for $8.99. That's all the book costs. It's not a very thick book. It's $8.99, but don't bother buying the book if you don't want to buy the book. And what's really cool is this is not an arrangement with the publisher. At the end of the class, you can keep these copies and you can give these copies to other people as well. And so this is truly open materials for this course. In addition, my slides, audio, video, and even my auto grading software is all either open source or licensed with a Creative Commons attribution license. And that means that you can take the videos, the PowerPoints, the whatever. We give you a website that will give you all these materials in an easily downloadable and remixable format. And this website is part of a movement we have here at the University of Michigan, like many other universities, that we call Open Michigan. And it is the idea of taking courses, not just this course, but hundreds of courses, and putting up the materials. I have spent extra time to make my materials in a form that you can actually reuse and remix and adjust them to your needs, because I really want to empower teachers. We're all going to learn in this class, but what I think is the most important thing is to create a whole generation of teachers who are capable of teaching a basic programming class locally, perhaps in the own language, in small classes. These giant classes are great because they get the word out, but what we do is we create a large learning community, and some people do well in that, but not everybody does. And so if I truly want to believe in getting programming to be truly for everybody, I need to get to the point where we have lots of teachers, not just me teaching lots of people, although I'm really enjoying teaching lots of people. And so there's a link there. I'll have a link in the class that will link you to the open education resources in the class. So as I mentioned, my whole research is playing with new pedagogies and new technologies in teaching and learning, and I want to experiment with this. The thing that's cool about MOOCs and Coursera is the ability to teach at scale, which is, I think, unprecedented. And it makes me as a teacher think very carefully. I'm like, wait a sec, now how can I teach at scale? Can I still do a good job teaching at scale? And I find that I have to start building cool technology. So maybe you've not taken another Coursera course, but here's our Coursera user interface. Video lectures tend to be the core of it. And interspersed among the video lectures, you will see little assignments, and the assignments there'll be quizzes as well, but the assignments end up with this little terminal icon, and you click on them. There's also sort of a video that goes along with each assignment. When you click on the terminal video, you come into this little auto grader. And so I've built this auto grader. This auto grader is software that I have created that auto grades your programming assignments and then automatically, instantly sends a grade back to Coursera. And if you look at this auto grader, and I'll talk more about this in the course, you type your Python code here. I hope you'll actually be able to run the code on your laptop and then just paste it in here, but some people will actually just write all the code inside here. You run the code by pressing check code, and your output comes here, the defined output, and the problem is there as well. And the program automatically checks to see if your output matches, and it looks at your code a little bit to make sure you're not cheating, for example. But it actually finishes grading, and when you submit your grade, you get a grade. The other thing that I've done is an example of this is in the week 1 extra credit. So this first week even has extra credit in it. I'm not going to say everyone has to have a laptop and everyone has to install Python, but if you have a laptop and can install Python, I would really love it if you did. So I'm going to give you extra credit if you do that. And the way you'll prove that you've actually successfully installed Python is take a couple of screenshots and upload them to what I call my social peer grading system. And what you'll do is you will upload 2 screenshots. It tells you what to do. Upload 2 screenshots, and then students will grade each other's screenshots. Now, if you've used Coursera before, you know that the peer grading takes a while. This peer grading, if someone else has already turned in their assignment, you can upload your assignment, and then within a couple of minutes, grade the other assignments that are waiting to be graded, and then you're done. And so as long as you're not the first person or the last person, you get almost instant feedback, and you can almost instantly finish your grading and be completely done with the assignment. Because really this is not a hard assignment. Most of the Coursera peer grading is writing assignments that are a little more challenging. This is really easy. You just got to check somebody's screenshot to see if they did the right thing. So we will have several assignments that are done through this social peer grading. And my goal, and I built this software, and my goal is to make it so that you can submit your stuff, you can do some grading, and you can be done in 10 or 15 minutes, rather than peer grading take a long time. So this is an experiment, and it's something that I was able to build because for the pedagogy of this course, I have a lot of these like check-off assignments where it's like, did you do it? And it's really easy to grade. You look at it and go like, yeah, you did the right thing. Or you say, no, they didn't, and give them some feedback. So, and then even the grading, you're going to have to look at this little page to see the grades that you've got in these externally hosted tools. As I mentioned, I would like you to install Python if you possibly could. It's optional. You will be able to do the whole course on a phone, although writing all this code on a phone is crazy. But, you know, there are crazy people in the world. And so I will give you this extra credit assignment. Some people might ask what version of Python we're using. There's Python 2 and Python 3, and we're going to be using Python 2 for this class. All the skills that you learn in Python 2 would transfer if you really needed to do Python 3. There's tiny changes. The market is slowly but surely transforming from Python 2 to Python 3. Another technical problem is that I know some of you live in countries that don't allow the use of YouTube. And so I'll have some videos that I cannot include in Coursera because of copyright restrictions, but I can point to them in YouTube. And you'll just not be able to see them. And don't worry too much about that. They're usually cute or funny or instructive, but they're not essential. So everything that's essential I will have in the class. And if you're in a country that can't use YouTube, I'm sorry about that. But I have not put anything that's essential for the class up on YouTube. So let me tell you a couple other things about the course. One of the things that is really cool about Coursera is the notion of community teaching assistants. Sue, Morrow, and Mason are my community teaching assistants. They've come with me from my Internet History Technology class. They're my community teaching assistants there, and they've helped me kind of make this class, and that's really cool. There will be many community teaching assistants. These three are my leads, and there will be many community teaching assistants. And you're going to find that it's really essential what they do in the class, especially this first time through, because we're going to need to be watching all kinds of things happening. Another thing that I do that's kind of interesting and cool is what I call face-to-face office hours. I have quite an active travel schedule, and when I can, as often as I can, around the world, wherever I happen to be giving a keynote speech or whatever, I go to a coffee shop or some other public place and say from 10 to noon I will be here at this coffee shop at a Starbucks in Amsterdam. We had 15 people show up at the Starbucks in Amsterdam. Where else? One's in London there, that's Barcelona, and that's Seoul, Korea. We had 3 people show up at Seoul, Korea. And so I've got a series of videos from this. It's called officehours.drchuck.com, and it'll redirect you to a YouTube playlist. And if you come to Office Hours, I have a sticker for you. I will give you personally a sticker, which is the logo for the course. So you can look forward to that. When we meet in person, I'll have a sticker for you. Another thing that I've been doing lately, not so much to help in learning in the course, but because there's a lot of public discussion about MOOCs, and I think sadly most of the people who are doing the public discussing about MOOCs, other than those who are actually involved in it, most of the people doing the public discussing about MOOCs or the public talk about MOOCs are not actually involved in them, and so they are saying really uninformed things about MOOCs. And so one of the things that I'm passionate about is getting your voice to be heard. And I have this YouTube channel, and if you are willing, go to the voices.drchuck.com and send me via Twitter or something a link if you record one of these little short 2-minute videos, and you can take a look at the videos that talk about who you are, what your education is, and what you like about MOOCs. They're kind of different. They don't all have to be the same. But if you're interested, I'd love to see you as part of my little Voices of the Students in MOOCs project. So, programming courses can be very challenging. One of my goals is to teach you how to take a programming class so that you can take other programming classes on Coursera or elsewhere and be successful in those classes. I think programming is wonderful. Programming for me is joyful and feels like artistic, and I get endorphins. And some people look at a sunset and get excited. I look at really beautiful code and I get excited. But part of the problem with programming is if you don't learn the language or you don't see the beauty until you kind of understand the basics. So it's a little clunky at the beginning. And even the first like 5 weeks of this class, you might be scratching your head and thinking like, what the heck is he talking about? And so the key thing is not to try to memorize everything. The key thing is to learn or accept the fact that in the first half of the class, I'm describing for you a big picture that you're not going to understand until you understand all the small pieces. So I'll talk in chapters 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 about these things that seem small and insignificant. And it's really not until chapters 7 through 10 that the pieces start to come together and you go like, oh, I get it. So it helps sometimes to look forwards and backwards in the material. Don't just look at the paragraph. If you're looking at a paragraph and it doesn't make sense, forget about it. Come back later. Look way down at the end of the book. Look at the beginning of the book. Just bounce around. Ask people. If you're having trouble on assignment 4, go back and redo assignment 1 or assignment 2. And that's because there's no way that I can, one step at a time, teach you with perfect understanding, because I'm teaching you a big complex picture with little pieces of view at a time. And it doesn't make sense until you made it all the way through. So if it doesn't make sense at week 7, we've got a problem. If you're a little confused, just trust me. Just learn what I'm trying to teach you. And don't just do the homework, because you will find that if you do the homework for assignment week 1, it's like, well, that was easy, and don't learn anything. And then you do assignment 2, and that was easy. Assignment 3, that was a little harder. And you didn't look at the lectures, didn't read the book, or didn't do anything. Then week 4 will be harder, and then be like, what the heck is he talking about? And then you'll be lost. So learn what I'm trying to teach you. Trust me. Trust me that what I'm telling you is going to come together and make sense at the end. So learn what I'm trying to teach you at the moment I'm trying to teach you. So don't just do the homework and go like, I'm done. This is not a regular class. This is a class where you're supposed to learn something. So trust that I put only what I think is essential in this class, and I'm not going to waste your time. But don't take that as I'm just going to do the homework and not learn anything, because at the end of the day, you won't learn anything if you just do the homework. Okay. If you feel stuck, take a break, relax. Concentrating, thinking more deeply, beating yourself up, that doesn't help. Go take a walk. Come back. It'll make more sense. Ask somebody. We just want you to learn one way or the other. Okay? The grades and the homework, that's going to be easy. Okay. So this is the first time the class has been taught. First time. I am using all kinds of crazy technology. I'm using features in Coursera that no one's ever used before, that just were invented not for me, but for many people, but I'm the first one that's going to use them. We're plugging these tools in. I'm building new auto graders. I'm building all these things. It could mess up. It could fail. I could be confused. I could be scrambling and fixing. I could lose a bunch of grades. But if we have a meltdown, relax. I will watch the meltdown. I will fix the meltdown. I will adjust deadlines. Stick with me on this, okay? Help me through it. Tell me how to make this software better. I know the first time there's going to be problems. But after that, I hope that we have software and a methodology that everybody can use. And you can tweet me. I'm always watching Twitter, even when I'm sort of out of the country. So tweet me if something seems to be broken. And I will get right on it, and I will try to fix it as soon as possible. And when you tweet me, I'll end up with some screen like this. I mean, I literally love fixing the code that you're working with. And I mean, I just get a charge out of it, like, whoa, it's not quite right. But I figured out what's wrong, and I fixed it, and like, boom, and it's all working for you. And so this for me is fun. The meltdown's not upsetting to me. I hope we have no meltdowns. Then I'll be very proud. But if we have a meltdown, I will be on it, and I'll fix it. Trust me. And then when we get all done with this, there's a graduation ceremony. There's a graduation ceremony toward the end of the class. I taped this graduation ceremony with my good friend Kurt Bonk, and so look forward to stick with it, and look forward to the graduation ceremony. And so that's pretty much all I have for this beginning lecture. I am glad that you're sticking with it, and I'm glad that you're giving this a try, and I really look forward to you interacting with you on this class.